Today, we are going to discuss chapter 4 of our first flight book, and the name from the diary of Bible Evangelist. Today, I'm going to give you the introduction of this chapter. I will tell you all the basic of this chapter that is required to understand it properly. And in the next week, we will be doing the rest of the chapter. Now, let us come to the first point. How is the chapter different? Now, this is not like your any other chapter of the first flight book. This chapter is very, very different from the other chapters. How? There are two reasons. First, that it is a real life story of some. And second reason is that it has been extracted from the diary of some. Children, you all must have written a diary entry. So this is actually the diary entry of Anne Frank. Now the question arises, who was Anne Frank? Anne Frank was basically a Jewish girl. Now children, this is, sorry for disturbance, this is the time of World War II when Nazis used to rule Germany. The leader of Nazis was Adolf Hitler. Now, Hitler used to hate Jews for any reason, for political reason or for any purpose. Now, Jews were very frightened from the Hitler because he used to torture them, he used to harass them, and he used to put them in the concentration camps. Concentration camps were the places where Jews used to torture the Hitler used to torture the Jews, and he used to murder them in a huge number. These places were called the concentration camps. Now, Anne Frank was one of the Jews. Let's come to the other question. Where was Anne Frank when he wrote the diary? During the reign of Adolf Hitler, Anne Frank and her family members moved to Netherlands from Germany. Now, why did they move? They moved because they were frightened from Hitler as he was murdering the Jews. So they moved to Netherlands and started living there in hiding. Now, Netherlands was actually the place where Anne Frank started writing her diary. Now, this diary was gifted to Anne Frank by her father on her 13th birthday. Now, the question arises, where and when did Anne Frank die? Now, it had been 2 years since Anne Frank and her family members were living in an isolated place in Netherlands. They were hiding from Adolf Hitler. So somehow Hitler got to know that some people are, they have already moved from Germany and they are hiding from him. So he went there and he transported Anne's family to the concentration camps. And the situation was worst in the concentration camps. Anne died there because of the disease called typhus. Let me explain you, for your knowledge, what is typhus. Typhus is an infectious disease which is caused by rats or mites. The situation was so worse there that none of the person survived in the concentration camps because Hitler used to murder all of them. The only survivor from Anne's family was her father. Now, Anne's father got the diary of Anne Frank there in the concentration camp, and he thought to get this diary published. So he did the same. He got the diary published under the name of the Diary of a Young Girl. So children, Anne died at the age of 15 years. When she was 15, she died. So that means that she wrote the diary only for 2 years. At her 30th birthday, the diary was gifted by her father. And on her 15th birthday, she died. So that means she wrote the diary just for 2 years. Paper has more patience than people. Now, children, from here we are going to, from here Anne has started giving the introduction about her diary. Now, let me tell you what kind of a person Anne is. Anne is a kind of personality who believes that writing in a diary is better than talking to people. She gives more preference to writing in a diary than talking to people. So she said that paper has more patience than people. There are two reasons why Anne says. One reason is that she had no friends. And the other reason is that she says that she had almost everyone in her family who was loving. Okay. She had a loving family, she had loving aunts, and many more people. But there was no such kind of a person whom she can trust and share her personal feelings with. So she could not actually confide in the people. So that is why she trusted her diary, and she said that paper has more patience than people, and that is the time when she started writing in the diary. And do you know, she gave the name to her diary as Kitty. Mentioning about the family members. Now, Anne also mentions about her family members in her diary. She says that her father was 36 years old when he married to her mother, who was 25 years old. Quite surprising, isn't it? Now, her father and her mother were of different ages when they got married. Father was 36 years old and mother was 25 years old when they both got married. She also mentions about her sister. Her sister's name was Margot, and she was 3 years elder to Anne Frank. Margot was born in the year 1926, and Anne Frank was born in the year 1929. Anne Frank also she had a loving grandmother. She was very attached, she was very close to her grandmother, and she mentions that in her diary. She says that in the year 1941, her grandmother fell seriously ill, and because of which she could not celebrate her birthday in that year. The next year, 1942, her grandmother died. Now she started missing her grandmother terribly because there was a great bond between Anne Frank and her grandmother. So the next birthday that Anne Frank celebrated, she lit a special candle for her grandmother. So that was the bond, that was the love which Anne Frank mentions that she had for her grandmother. So basically, children, that's all for today. Because I wanted you to get the introduction because you would not get the introduction anywhere else. You needed to know the time of Nazis, the time of Hitler. Okay, so I had given you all the introduction which was required for you to understand the chapter clearly. Now I am going to explain you the main chapter, the diary entry that she writes in our next session, the next week. Okay, I hope you have understood it clearly. And don't forget to do the questions which are given in your PDF exercise and also the NCRT questions. Thank you, children. Bye bye for now.